Okay, so we were just finished up with our squat pattern, and we were concerned with Jocelyn's mobility really in the upper portion of her spine. So we're going to check it here. So what we're doing is we've got our back completely against the wall. By sitting, we can't arch our back. It just flattens it into the wall. We've got our rear all the way up against the wall, our spine, our head touching the wall, and we're sitting in this butterfly position, which is the position of open hips that we want to be in a squat. We are going to now put arms up against the wall in a 90-90 position. What we want is both elbows touching. Ideally, the wrist could lay flat. We can see she's already having a little difficulty with that as things have gotten tighter. Now we're talking about somebody who has a lot of shoulder mobility, so why would this be difficult? Well, this is the spinal portion coming in as we're forcing her to be in thoracic extension, which is a stretch for her. Okay, so now that we're going to come up and try and touch our hands, maintaining the contact with the wall. So we're going to touch them up overhead. Keep going. And what we see is both elbows have to come off the wall. Now, that is some mobility difficulty, not really with her shoulders. From a front rack position, she's got a very good position. Her shoulders have no problem with the range of motion standpoint. This is all stiffness in through the thoracic spine. So with that, this can be our mobilization. We can start with this mobilization as sitting against the wall as she's able to achieve it. It's going to keep her back flat for her, but she isn't able to achieve the arm position. So what I'm going to do is give her this PVC. We're going to start with holding it here. This left arm is going to go up over here. It's going to push this arm into this position, and she's going to actually just push this arm up and look at it at the same time and drive it up, and then we're going to be able to get some of that thoracic stretch. Now at the same time, we would like this to stay kind of on the wall. That's going to be the test for her, okay? And then she's going to come back down. Good, look forward, and then we're going to go up again and look at it. Good, driving it all the way up. Good, use this hand to help push that up. Good, now use that hand to help pull it back down. And we're keeping it against the wall. This might not show up on camera, but this is very difficult for her to do. She's making faces. This is a good one for her. It's going to help with her thoracic mobility, stops her from cheating with her lower back. If you have some range of motion issues in the shoulder, this also helps correct that. Okay, so we're going to give her a break and let her come out of there, and we're going to go to a slightly stiffer subject in Irish. So we're going to get him up against the wall. You can see getting up against the wall in that position is already a little harder. It's harder to open up those hips, so we have a little less flexibility, but it's good to sit here. We're going to try and get this here. Good. Now, we're going to go to our test. Both arms up against the wall. All right, so when this is external rotation of the shoulder, we can see that we can't quite get there. And so this is going to be a limited shoulder mobility, and this is going to affect our front rack position, our ability to push overhead. If you have pain with pushing weights overhead, it's going to be because he's really trying to arch his back right now. In the gym, normally, he'd arch his back to get the weight overhead, and then his back would hurt. So we don't even need to try to push overhead right now. Let's see if he can do the one that Jocelyn was just doing. Good, now go ahead and push it up. Look at it as you do it. So you can see that the whole arm has come off the wall here. I can slide. So this is very difficult. So let's give him something to work on and then come back to this. Okay, so for Irish now, we've came off the wall. That was a bit aggressive for his mobility. So now what we're gonna work on is same mobility exercise, but lying down's easier. It's gravity eliminated. He's got support of the floor to keep his back again flat like the wall, but he doesn't have to quite work as hard. So we're gonna go up in that 90-degree position again and try and drop those arms back. Good, and so here he can about achieve it. And so now he can slide his hands over head and touch them together. So we can see that his arms come off the wall. I used to do this and my arms used to come off the floor as well. As I continued to work on it, they eventually just met the floor. So you can do that. You can also do the same thing we were doing with the stick on the wall, and we can give him this stick, hold this in your palm. This one comes down and holds it. Have that one kind of press that down, grab a hold of it there, and use this one to kind of drive and push the stretch up above. Good, and then come back down. So basically this pole is just helping add a little pressure. There shouldn't be any pain with it. And now he's able to keep that arm against the floor. Now this is letting this come up a little bit, which is fine. He needs a little assistance right now. We know once this becomes easy, then we can go to our other position. Also, to help with the mobilization of the spine, we can take 2 tennis balls, lacrosse balls taped together, and if we have him sit up here for a moment, we're going to take and put these. The groove between the 2 balls are going to go right over the spine. And if we look at his spine, I'm thinking we're going right here, as this looks as our stiffest spot. So what we're going to do is have him lay back over those. Now we can see that with that, mobility through the thoracic spine is not good enough to really rest his head in a great position. So we might put an ab mat under our head, and while we do that, now we can go ahead and do our other exercise. We're going to go ahead and slide that up. So that looks better on his neck. And then he can work on the mobility there. Again, if we wanted to do this on both sides at the same time, we eventually could do that. You're going to see again that this is probably still a little too aggressive for him right at this point, as our hands are quite a bit off the floor, and again, that's a loss in the shoulder mobility, especially external rotation of the shoulder. But eventually, this is another way he can get after this. Okay, good. All right, let's stand up. As a further progression, let's bring Jocelyn in for this. So here, the progression started with lying down is our easiest and where we should start with. Once we pass that, we can add some increased stimulus with the lacrosse balls underneath. After that, now we went to the seated position, which we already did with Jocelyn in our test. That would be our next step. And once we can pass that, we know we have the mobility. Now, let's see with our new mobility, can we control the positioning? And we saw in Jocelyn's squat that the back really wanted to arch. So we're going to come stand against the wall. So we are here against the wall as a progression. We moved from the seated position, which was to get us more mobility. Now we're in the standing position looking to control the motion with our new mobility. So here we have our heels a little bit off the wall, and we can see just in a normal standing posture that we've got quite a bit of curve away from the wall. First step in this exercise is to see if we can just flatten our back against the wall. So Jocelyn's going to try and flatten, and in order to flatten, you can see that she had to bend her knees. Why did she have to bend her knees? Her body is used to standing in a very arched position, which leads to a tight back and tight hip flexors. We're really engaging those two muscle groups when we stand in that position. And in order for her to get her back flat, she had to bend at the knee and hip in order to release some of the tight hip flexors to allow that range of motion. That is okay. We're going to learn how to control this motion and hopefully create more balance around the core area from a flexibility standpoint. So we bend the knees as much as we need to get our back flat. We're going to actually have her bend them a little more to make it easier on her. If she was having trouble with her knees here, we'd let her even move her feet a little bit off the wall. So here she is. She's able to flatten. I can't get my hand into that space anymore. You can see how this has started to test the flexibility in her upper portion of her spine. Now again, ideally we would have started her more in the seated position working on this. We're going to go into our externally rotated shoulders while maintaining our back flat. So that's you coming up into this position. And then in this position, she's going to try and maintain contact against the wall, slide her arms up overhead while her back stays flat into the wall. So this would be, I'm pushing weight overhead and able to stay in this back flat position. Now, when we're really in the gym, can we slide all the way up? Okay, so here we're getting tightness. She's not quite able to get all the way up there. That could be lat tightness, that can be thoracic spine mobility, that could be shoulder tightness. Now with her, we know that shoulder's not a problem. We know that the thoracic spine's a little stiff. We might, and we're pretty sure we have some lat tightness along with it. Now, so with that, the lat tightness will take care of itself in the thoracic spine as we work this. We don't worry so much about what's limiting us. As long as it's not painful and we can get in these positions, we're going to just work this out. So we come back down, and then we're back up again, trying to get those arms overhead. If it comes off a little bit, that's fine. We're going to keep working at this until our arms can stay against the wall. Also, we would eventually like to do this with our legs straighter. So as we get better at this, we're going to start to slide up the wall, but we're going to want to be able to still achieve that flat back position. So here we have Jocelyn off the wall, and we can see right here in her lower back that there's quite a bit of arch. We want her to be in a more neutral position. So if we tilt back just a little bit, that's a better position. We can see that she kind of slumps up above just a little bit when she does that. And that's again because she hasn't done the pieces yet to work on that mobility. But ideally, once we're back in the gym, we want to have a long, shallow curve, not an over accentuated curve, a shallow one, not a flat back. But we worked in the flat back position on the wall in order to push her limits, so that when she gets back in the gym and she's pushing weight overhead, is that this has got plenty of mobility, and it's going to be easier for her to control if she's got that movement. Her tendency, her dysfunction is to overarch, like a lot of you. Again, if you're pressing weight overhead and your lower back hurts, you're doing the same thing, and you need to work on this. And we want to get you into a better spine position and make it easy for you to be there so you don't have to think about it while you're working out.